Imagine a party where uninvited guests keep showing up. That's what intrusive thoughts are like. Intrusive thoughts are those unwelcome ideas or images that suddenly pop into your mind. They're like that cousin you didn't invite to your party, but they show up anyway. And before you know it, they're dominating the conversation and you're stuck listening to their third retelling of that fishing trip story. Now, it's important to understand that everyone has intrusive thoughts. It's a common part of the human experience. Like that time you were driving and thought, what if I just swerved into oncoming traffic? Or when you're chopping vegetables and you get that fleeting thought, what if I just... Yeah, those are intrusive thoughts. They can be violent, they can be disturbing, they can be downright bizarre. And guess what? It's okay. It's normal to have them. But here's where the problem starts. When these intrusive thoughts become repetitive, they can lead to overthinking. It's like your brain is a broken record, playing the same unnerving song over and over again. And this overthinking can feel like you're stuck in a never-ending loop of distressing thoughts, which can be incredibly overwhelming and self-sabotaging. Science tells us that one of the reasons we overthink is because we're trying to gain control over the uncontrollable. It's like trying to hold on to water. The more you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. And before you know it, you're not enjoying the party anymore. You're too busy dealing with these uninvited guests. But remember, intrusive thoughts are normal, but they become a problem when they start to take over the party. So let's learn how to deal with these party crashers, shall we? Stay tuned as we delve into the science behind intrusive thoughts and explore the power of cognitive diffusion. So, why do these uninvited guests keep crashing the party in our minds? It all boils down to two key players in our brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Let's start with the amygdala. This almond-shaped structure is like the alarm system of our brain, always on the lookout for potential dangers. When it senses something threatening, it triggers fear and anxiety. Now, usually this is a good thing. It's what kept our ancestors safe from saber-toothed tigers. But in our modern world, it can often misinterpret harmless situations as threats, leading to those pesky intrusive thoughts. Let's take an example. You're walking down a street and you see a snake. Well, your amygdala screams danger, and you're filled with fear. But what if that snake was just a harmless garden hose? Your amygdala doesn't care. It saw a potential threat and it did its job. Now let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is like the CEO, making decisions, solving problems, and yes, overthinking. It's constantly analyzing and interpreting the information it receives. But sometimes it can get stuck in a loop, fixating on certain thoughts, especially when fueled by the fear and anxiety from our overzealous amygdala. For instance, let's say you made a small mistake at work. Your prefrontal cortex might start overanalyzing it, creating a cascade of negative thoughts like, what if my boss fires me? What if I can't find another job? What if I can't pay my bills? And just like that, a minor mistake turns into a major crisis in your mind. But remember what Proverbs chapter 29 verse 25 says, fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. In other words, don't let fear and overthinking trap you. Trust in yourself and your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Our brain is a complex organ and sometimes it can be a little too good at its job. But we have a secret weapon to handle these gatecrashers. It's called cognitive diffusion. Cognitive diffusion is the superhero of the psychological world. It's a technique that helps us to detach or diffuse from our thoughts, to see them as what they really are, just thoughts. So, what's the science behind it? Well, a study published in the Journal of Behavior Therapy and Experimental Psychiatry found that cognitive diffusion techniques significantly reduce the distress and believability of negative thoughts. In layman's terms, it's like having a bouncer at your mind's party, showing the door to uninvited, pesky thoughts. Now imagine this. You're walking down a beautiful path, the sun is shining, birds are chirping, and suddenly a wild bear appears. Now you could panic, or you could realize it's just a cardboard cutout of a bear. That's cognitive diffusion. It helps us see our negative thoughts for what they are, harmless cardboard bears. Let me share a personal story. Years ago, I found myself tangled in a web of negative thoughts. I was stuck in a loop of overthinking that felt like a never-ending roller coaster. It cost me a job promotion and subsequent self-doubt in my abilities. Then I discovered cognitive diffusion. It felt like someone had handed me a pair of scissors to cut through all the threads of overthinking. I started viewing my thoughts as separate from me, and that's when the healing began. This technique reminds me of a verse from the Bible, Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. Cognitive diffusion is that good word, that tool which helps us lift the weight of anxiety and negative thoughts. Remember, our minds are like a garden, and thoughts are the seeds. Some seeds grow into beautiful flowers, while others turn into bothersome weeds. Cognitive diffusion is the tool that helps us weed out the negative thoughts, allowing the positive ones to flourish. So let's embrace cognitive diffusion. Let's take back control of our minds. Let's replace the cardboard bears with thoughts that serve us, not scare us. And remember, you are the host of your mind party. You decide who gets to stay. So, how do we show these uninvited guests the door? Let's delve into some practical techniques that can help. First up, mindfulness meditation. A study from the Johns Hopkins University found that mindfulness meditation can help ease psychological stresses like anxiety, depression, and pain. It's all about focusing on the present moment, accepting it without judgment. It's like being a gatekeeper of your mind, observing thoughts without getting caught up in them. Next, we have physical exercise. Ever heard of the saying, "A healthy body is a healthy mind"? Turns out it's backed by science. A Harvard study revealed that regular exercise can help reduce feelings of anxiety and improve mood by releasing feel-good chemicals like endorphins. So, whether it's a brisk walk in the park or a high-intensity interval training session, get that body moving. Now let's turn to a timeless source of comfort and wisdom, the Bible. In the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This scripture reminds us to surrender our anxieties, our overthinking to a higher power. Incorporating these techniques into your daily routine may not completely eliminate intrusive thoughts or overthinking, but they can certainly help manage them. It's like having a mental toolkit ready for when those unwanted guests arrive. Remember, it's not about achieving perfection, but progress. With these tools in your arsenal, you'll be better equipped to handle intrusive thoughts and overthinking. Now, armed with these techniques, it's time to take back control of your mind party. You've been given the key to unlock the door to a healthier mental state. It's a journey, not a race, and every step you take towards cognitive diffusion is a victory. Remember, it's perfectly okay to stumble along the way. That's all part of the process. You now understand that intrusive thoughts are not your enemy. They're merely uninvited guests at your mind party. With the power of cognitive diffusion, you can choose to engage with them or let them pass by, like clouds in the sky. Practice these techniques daily, and you'll notice a difference. You'll become a spectator of your thoughts rather than a hostage. But remember, you're not alone in this journey. If at any point your intrusive thoughts become too overwhelming, don't hesitate to seek professional help. Therapists and psychologists are trained to guide you through these challenges, providing additional strategies and support. There's no shame in reaching out. In fact, it's one of the bravest things you can do. Now let's make a pact. Let's promise to be kind to ourselves, to be patient, and to practice these techniques. Like any skill, mastering cognitive diffusion takes time. But every day you're getting better, and that's what truly matters. As a final thought, remember this quote from the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23. "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." In this context, heart can mean mind. So guard your mind, keep it healthy and clear, because from it flows your entire life. It's now time to wrap up our mind party. The journey doesn't end here, though. It's just beginning. And remember, you are capable, you are strong, and you can conquer your intrusive thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, sharing your experiences as much as you feel comfortable with managing intrusive thoughts. Your story could be the inspiration someone else needs to start their journey towards a healthier mind. So let's keep this conversation going. Before we wrap up, here's an inspirational quote to ponder. It comes from the renowned psychologist and philosopher William James, who once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." This quote speaks volumes about our capacity for mental resilience and the power we hold within us. The thoughts that intrude on our peace of mind, the ones that seem so persistent and overwhelming, they are not as inescapable as they may appear. We have the ability to choose our thoughts. We can decide to focus on the positive, the hopeful, the constructive. We can choose to let go of the negative, the distressing, the destructive. Think of it this way: our minds are like gardens. We can let them be overrun by weeds of worry, or we can choose to cultivate flowers of joy and tranquility. It's not about denying the existence of the weeds, but rather acknowledging them and then deciding to focus our energy on nurturing the flowers. Remember, the power of cognitive diffusion is not about fighting your thoughts, but rather stepping back, observing them without judgment, and then choosing where to focus your attention. It's about recognizing that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. Just as a ship does not sink because of the water around it, but because of the water that gets in it, we too do not get overwhelmed by the thoughts around us, but by the thoughts that we let in and give power to. It's a skill, it's a practice, and like any skill, it gets better with time and patience. So keep practicing, keep choosing. Remember, you have the power to control your thoughts, not the other way around. Until next time, peace, love, and health to you.